Hi, guys. Welcome back to the podcast. I wanted to try today's episode doing YouTube, recording it while I go. And honestly, I've had so much resistance towards doing this because I feel like it's this whole big production and blah, blah, blah. I have really lame excuses for it. So if you want to watch on YouTube, it's going to be on YouTube, but I'm literally just in pajamas and I'm going to do an eye mask so that this can actually be a casual thing that I want to sit down and do. And my favorite place to sit is literally the floor. So I am just sitting on my floor and we're going to hop right in. For today's episode, hopefully you can't hear me too bad unwrapping my eye patches, but I told you we were going to be casual and I'm recording this at 7:30 at night and I want to eat dinner. So we're just going to do my eye patches, then I'll record this, then we'll go eat dinner. So if you want to watch this at night, I think that is the perfect opportunity. Just cozy vibes with me. For my YouTube gals, I'm using these like Grace and Stella eye patches. I bought them on Prime Day and I do not like them. I use them, but I'm not a fan of them at all. I just feel like they don't do what they need to do. But if you're watching this and it's at night, honestly, just go get eye patches. Go do it with me. I took my makeup off. I got home from the gym. Am I doing these wrong? Maybe someone can tell me I'm doing them wrong. I'm not even like a cozy person. Like I'm not someone who needs to be cozy and have like a relaxed night, but I just know I won't record this if I think it's like a big work thing. So we're just going to do it this way. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about on today's episode is honestly a reel that I did that I think it got like 50,000 views, nothing like crazy, but clearly it was a topic people liked. People left questions on it, and what that is and what we're going to be talking about today as I constantly adjust my eye mask is unhinged things I did to earn $1 million in my 20s. I think it was by like 27-ish, maybe 28 that it happened. I think what people really liked about it is that it was just the like more chaotic things that I actually did to make that kind of money. And I want to talk about each one a little bit more on today's episode. And I want to deep dive on it because even if you're not at a place where you feel like it's possible, I want you to see that some of what I did, it's just behaviors, tendencies, habits that do really add up to creating success that you didn't think possible. Like I never thought I was going to be a person who made $1 million in my 20s. I never thought I was going to be a person who ran a business. I never thought I would be any sort of like influencer. I never thought I would make YouTubes, even though I've always wanted to, actually. I always wanted to be a little star when I was small. But I just never thought any of this was possible. And I did it. And it's because of some of these behaviors. So maybe we do a couple podcast episodes on this if you guys really like it. But I figured let's just break down what I already had. And the funny thing is too, is that when I'm coaching my clients and talking to clients about like building businesses, building personal brands, so often they'll ask for a piece of advice. And I'm like, no. What I said in that reel, I know it seems silly. I know it seems playful and unhinged, but I really meant it. So that's what I really want to cover in this episode is just diving a little deeper into the things that I was actually doing. Okay, the first thing that I did that I said on Unhinged Things I Did to Make $1 Million is that I would not shut up. I was yapping, talking. You couldn't have avoided me if you tried. And a phrase that I've been saying more and more lately and just living honestly is the idea that closed mouths don't get fed. Closed mouths do not get fed. Especially my first year, but really every year since, I try and be there. I try and be front and center. I try and be in your face where I can. And the reason why is because if you don't know I exist, if I'm being quiet, if I'm being shy, I'm not going to make my money. I'm not going to be as successful as I want to be. And I'm an introvert. I really full-heartedly am. But I just know that the most successful people are the ones who raise their hands. The most successful people are the ones who advocate for themselves. The most successful people are the ones who open their mouths and talk, promote themselves, put themselves out there. One of my favorite phrases as well is this idea that the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I just think it's so true. The more, I don't even want to say extroverted loud because it's not that. It's just the more that you are willing to put yourself out there, the more you are going to get lucky, the more you are going to find opportunities. It's really hard to, for example, meet a woman when you're sitting at home alone in your apartment. It's really hard to get a job if you're not willing to apply to the ones that you really want. It is really hard to make the kinds of money you want if you're so worried about what people think. And I coach clients on this all the time when it comes to sales. It's like they take it so personally. They're so afraid of rejection. They don't want to be perceived as sleazy, as cringy. They don't want people to see them struggling, but it's just like, it's okay. And so often people don't get where they want to go because they're so worried about what other people think. If you can enter that mode where you're just like, I'm going to look stupid, I'm going to look like an idiot, I'm going to get rejected, it's not really a problem, the more secure you actually become. Because when you are constantly trying to make sure that you never get rejected, when you're constantly trying to make sure that you always get perceived as successful, and when you're very hesitant to open your mouth, it just shows that you are insecure about it. And it's like you have no reason to be. You have no reason to be. And especially in sales, like people aren't rejecting you, they don't even know you. They just literally don't have enough information to buy from you yet. But you know how they get more information? You keep talking. You don't show up. You keep going. My first 6-figure launch that I ever had of one of my offers, one person was like, I literally opened the app, I opened Instagram, and you were there every single time. Like you were the top every single time. And it's because I just went off. I was so certain of like, I know I can help you. I know I'm going to succeed. I know that if you just see me, if you just hear me, you're going to get it and you're going to join. And so that was one person. The other person, I remember this poor girl, she literally blocked me. She blocked me because she was like, I knew if I kept seeing it, I was going to buy, but I blocked you. And then I kept thinking about it. So I had to join, right? So it's like closed mouths don't get fed. I actually just pitched myself for an opportunity that for years of my life, people, when I told them I wanted it, they laughed in my face. My someone in my family just told me there is literally a percentage of 1% chance that this would ever work out for you. And I said, I don't care. I'm going to pitch myself anyway. And I raised my hand and I got in the door. Will it work out? Probably not. Will I talk about it if I get even past stage 1? Absolutely. But I got myself in the door and people told me I couldn't even get in the door. If I had let other people's opinions or what other people think play any sort of factor, I wouldn't be here. So the more you open your mouth, the more you are in people's faces, the more you believe in where you want to go, the better you're going to do because you're going to be more present. You're going to be more active. You're going to put yourself out there more. Closed mouths don't get fed. If you want something, do not shut up. Do not shut up. Like be in their faces. And here's the thing too, is that as I prefaced with the start of this, I didn't always believe any of this was possible. For a lot of my life, I didn't think it was possible. I don't. And as someone who literally helps people across now 6 continents become confident and go after what they want, you don't need to be confident. You don't need to fully believe in where you're going. You just need to not decide that you're going to fail or you're not good enough. And that's a lot of what happened. I was just like, I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep talking. I'm just going to keep putting myself out there. And the more secure you are in yourself, the better, the easier that is. And I'm not going to go into that because that's a whole other topic. But that's the first thing. Is the first unhinged thing I did was that I would not shut up. Okay, the second thing is that I moved to California out of nowhere. And to tell you a little bit of a story of this unhinged thing that I did to make a million, I think I got the idea on a random Tuesday. I remember where I was. I was in my hometown in upstate New York. I was helping my grandparents out because they were sick at the time. And I remember on this random Tuesday, and I was living at home with my parents. Tuesday, I get the idea. What if I moved to San Francisco? What, like, it just feels like that's my move right now. I had my sister there. I had one friend, but I knew no one else. No one else. And my sister, I love her to death. She is my best friend, but she is 12 years older than me and she has kids. So it's not like I was like going to go party with all her friends. I didn't know anyone except one person. And by Thursday that same week, I had secured an apartment off of Facebook with strangers, which is like not necessarily in my comfort zone. I would do it now just fine. But back then it was like really taboo for me to do. I think there's 2 things here of why I included this and why I think it's important. It has nothing to do with moving. It has nothing to do with California. It's more the idea that I wanted to put myself in an environment in which I pictured myself succeeding. And it doesn't even matter if you can't move. It doesn't matter if your environment at home sucks either. I'm going to be super clear on that. You can still succeed from an environment that feels low energy. You more have to put yourself in the mental state, the emotional state, even the physical state if you can. So many people want to succeed and they want these big dreams and they want to be confident and they want to go after what they want of the place where you know you're going to succeed. But even bigger than that, truly, I think this is the bigger deal, is that it's not about moving, it's about taking the risk. But not if they have to leave their comfort zone, not if they have to take a risk. And you don't even have to be this crazy like risk taker. For most of my life, I was incredibly risk averse, like crazy risk averse. It was only that year that I started my business that I started becoming very risk tolerant. It's just the idea that if you really want something, you have to show up for it. You have to go after it. And I think a lot of people, they don't take the risk because they're scared, but I was scared too. I was scared. I didn't know anyone. In my entire life, constantly, people told me I was intimidating. People thought I didn't like them. I was the shy girl. It was really hard for me to make friends. Like I had such a deeply ingrained story that I'm unlikable and it's really impossible for me to make friends. That was my lived experience up until then. But when I even went on this move, I made this huge decision of that's going to change for me right here and now. I'm going to make friends and people are going to love me. And I'm just going to go in and be as confident as I can be. And I was picturing constantly before I entered so many rooms, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? How does she think? How does she act? How does she talk to people? How does she show up? And then I would do that. It felt like such a risk. I was petrified, but I still took that risk anyway because if I wanted something, no one was going to give it to me. No one was going to hand it to me. No one was going to create it but me. So I knew that I would have to be uncomfortable, take some risks, and do some crazy things to get out there. And crazy, even just like, yes, sure, moving, but more of like even putting myself in rooms and deciding people are going to love me. People are going to want to be my friend. And it's crazy how effortlessly it all came about because I showed up before I was ready. The third thing that I did to make $1 million in my 20s is that I brainwashed myself into thinking that sales were sexy. And here's the thing. I previously was of the very like old school mindset. I think way less people are of this mindset now. And maybe I could be so wrong actually about this, but maybe I've just brainwashed myself so into it that I can't tell. But I used to be in the old school mindset of like sales are sleazy, it's pushy, people are like it's people are gonna not like me. Like I very much when I first had an inkling of an idea of starting a business, felt that way. But I brainwashed myself into thinking sales were sexy. And one of the best ways that I did this is realizing that anyone who is so willing, similar to number one, put themselves out there like that must be really confident. They must be really secure. They must not care what people think. But the thing that I want to be really clear on here is that if you are someone who you just know you want a very big life, you know you want to make money and want your money making money for you, you don't want to quite do the corporate life, or even just you want to start a personal brand, you want to start a business, anything like that, you're going to have to sell. And I realized very early on that sales were going to be a gateway to the life that I wanted. The ability to speak up, pitch yourself, position yourself, and talk about it a lot of times was the gateway to becoming an entrepreneur. I have helped hundreds of women across the world, and so many are resistant to selling. So many are actually very terrified to put themselves out there. They're terrified to ask for the sale. They're terrified to ask people for money. They're terrified to do everything that comes with sales. And I want you to know it's not because selling is hard. It's because you're second guessing yourself and wondering what people think of you. I actually wrote a script for a reel the other day, and I'm just going to pull it up because I feel like it's like so relevant to this point. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I found it. Okay. So the question that I wrote down is I asked, would you rather be broke or cringy? Because that is the choice that you are making every single time you hold yourself back from selling. I was delusional. Confidence sells. Nothing is ever going to sell like confidence. Even think about it like this. You could have two people who have the exact same resume, the exact same experience, say exact same interview answers, but one is a little in their own head and the other is confident. Who are you going to hire? You're going to hire the confident person. Always. You will always choose the confident person. And my even story on this is that when I was in college, I did not have the world's best GPA. Turns out I had ADHD and I didn't know it, but I did not have the best GPA. I did not have the best experience. And there was one year where I interviewed a bunch of places and I could get myself to the interview, but I bombed every single one. Like I couldn't get the job. And it's because I was so nervous in the interviews. And going up the next, and literally to even get the job that I wanted that 1 year, I think I had to go like deep into networking to even get something. And it was a miracle. And I was months late finding something. It was so embarrassing. Like I could not get it. And I went to one of the top business schools in the world. Like I really couldn't secure anything. Going into the next year of applying for full-time jobs, the only thing I worked on all summer was my confidence, specifically my interview confidence. And that's why I love coaching corporate girls who want to go up and get bigger jobs. And literally girls will enter Fiera, and within 1 month of being in that program, even if they've worked with career coaches, even if they worked with their colleges, even if they like all these sorts of things, they get the jobs. And it's because of the interview confidence that I talk about in there. But anyway, point is, next year, all I work on is interview confidence, while other people worked on case studies and their interview skills and their stories and all these things. I just worked on my confidence. I worked on becoming more secure in myself, really believing in myself, and being sold on myself. Like I was sold on myself this time. And I went up for jobs against people who had way higher GPAs, way better experience, probably actually smarter than me, maybe, who knows, but they were way better on paper. But I landed every single job offer that I went to for any interview except one. And the only reason I don't think I got that one is because I couldn't find a room to interview in at my school at the time. So I was like frantically in the hallway, people passing me. I was very flustered. So of course I didn't get it. But I had so many people come to me after, and even my school, they were like, what do you think you did that you won over all these people? What is it? Because we want you to start teaching other people around it. And they took my cover letter, they dissected me, and I am in my late 20s, and I still have 19-year-olds calling me being like, they sent me to you. I'm a little too old to still be doing it. But you get my point. The only thing I did was confidence, because confidence sells. The confident person will always win out. If what you're picturing right now is this energy of someone like super like putting themselves out there and speaking over others and, like almost arrogant or like so overly sure of themselves, that is ego. That is not confidence. That is maybe even arrogance, but it's ego of trying to hide their insecurities. So they're very loud about it. That's why people get really afraid of confidence sometimes. But really what I'm talking about is a self-assured, secure person. That is what will sell. Because if you're hesitant on yourself in business and content creation and in your career, if you're hesitant, other people feel that hesitancy and they become hesitant on you. So when I started my business, I was just really leaning into my confidence. It was the Makenzie show, and I just acted like everyone was pulling up to watch it. And I only had like 400 followers. I didn't have anything crazy. What stops the most people from being successful like they want is the thoughts in their heads, the doubt that they live by. They hold themselves back from being who they really are. They hold themselves back from going after what they really want. And they're so worried about what would happen if they really believed in themselves. I hear all the time people coming to me and saying, delusion feels reckless. It feels like lying to myself. To believe in what I want feels so stupid. Like I'm going to fall flat on my face in front of everyone. But the thing is like, if delusion feels reckless, doesn't that mean that doubt feels safe? And how is that a better alternative? The thing that I would say is like, if it feels like lying to yourself, you're just approaching confidence wrong. So often people teach confidence in terms of like leapfrogging your belief up and saying all these affirmations and doing all these things so that you feel confident. And might that work maybe for a little, but oftentimes you hit a road bump, you hit a hard time, you hit a certain season in life and you crumble back down. Happens all the time. That is why the way I teach confidence in my program, Fiera, is that we base it off of neuroscience. It is literally a whole training ground, a whole formula, a whole program based on science and also my experience too. But it's like the thing that you have to do if delusion feels like lying, if confidence feels like lying to yourself, if believing in yourself feels like almost like you want to crawl out of your skin to really have that energy, it's because you're trying to leapfrog your belief up. You need to slowly work your way up there in 2% shifts. But if you can start to believe in yourself even marginally more, day after day, you're going to be able to start showing up like you've already got it, like you know what you're doing, like you're secure and self-assured. And if you act like you have it, you eventually will. And that's the part about delusion, is that I was acting like I was going to make $1 million before I made a penny. Like truly, I hadn't made a penny when I was showing up like with the certainty and the conviction and the confidence of this is what I'm going to do with my life. This is what I'm going to do, and it's going to work. So while I made the reel in like good, playful, fun energy, I want you to see some of the actual meaning behind it, some of the regulation and the discipline and the self-belief that it was really backed by. If you really want to build your confidence and build your discipline, it starts in these micro decisions. It starts in how you respond to stress. It starts in how you respond to doubt. It starts in how you respond when you're really afraid and you choose to see things differently. You shift your perspective, you calm your nervous system, you change your habits, and you go after it. If you want to make $1 million in your 20s, or you want to make $1 million this next year, or whatever it is, like you just want to succeed, you want to be happy, you want to feel more self-assured, you want your life to reflect who you feel like you actually are and want to be, then start to work some of these habits, start to get them in. And you're going to find that as you do that, they become more natural. They're going to feel weird as shit at the beginning. Of course they are. It's not who you've been. But I really believe that who you want to be is who you're meant to be. If you have this vision of, I don't know, like being a YouTube star, or you want to make millions, or you want to have a personal brand, or you want to be an investor in businesses, whatever it is, it's because that's who you really are meant to be. It's just you're not being that because you're currently weighed down by shame and fear and doubt and limitations. But once you clear those things, it becomes more and more natural, and the momentum gets building, and it happens faster and faster and faster. And so if that's something that you want to work on, absolutely come talk to me about Fiera, my year-long training ground for people who really just want to become their most confident, disciplined selves, who want to build the kind of confidence that changes how you live, not just how you feel. And that's the thing too, is like what I was doing in my journey of making $1 million and starting this business at 24 is I didn't just want to feel confident sometimes. It wasn't good enough for me to just feel confident sometimes. I wanted it to be so deeply baked and ingrained into who I was that it completely transformed my life, and it has. And if that's what you want, come message me, come work with me, come grab any of my freebies. Like literally, let's just start somewhere and get you on that path, because I fully believe that you can do it. There are so many girls who have come to me and thought it couldn't be them, have convinced themselves that they couldn't have what they want. And I'm literally the happiest little being in the world to prove them wrong every single time. And I do, because you can have what you want. You can have the body, you can have the business, you can have the bank account, you can have the relationship, you can have the lifestyle, you can have any of it. But it's going to start with showing up for yourself in a different way, thinking in a different way, starting to believe in yourself, and back that up with discipline and relentlessness and resilience and action. So if you want big things, come follow me on Instagram, come follow me on YouTube, whatever. Like subscribe to the podcast, because every single episode I'm going to do my best to convince you that you can have what you really want. I love you guys. I believe in you guys, and I will catch you in the next episode.